Yeah, hi everybody. Just a brief little snip this time. I just wanted to clarify the last little snip that I put up, and just say that I don't mean to offend anybody by my outbursts, but I do get rather irrational and get upset by the fact that for the last 20 years our little state has been run by one crowd, effectively. That's the Fianna Fáil Party. They've run for 18 of the last 20 years, and basically what they've done is they've taken a perfectly healthy economy and they've crushed it into an iceberg. And the two men that I discussed it, who were on the bridge while that took place, was the captain, the Muppet Ahern, and his navigation officer, Brian Cowan, and our little country effectively has been destroyed. It has been basically offered up as a political sacrifice, and I don't know how we're going to get out of this situation we find ourselves in. This is an incredible situation we find ourselves in. A friend of mine just rang me there a few minutes ago to tell me that he wasn't very happy with what he works in the public service, and he was looking at the little snip, the last little snip, and he was saying that he wasn't too happy about what I was saying about public servants being paid 20% more than their contemporaries in the private sector. And I have no apologies to make about it. It is the reality. I'm not an advocate for capitalism, but we do live in a capitalist society. And at the end of the day, if you do not have a capitalist society which is based on external earnings, you will not have a capitalist society. You have something else there. And our problem is that I see it today in this society we live in. We're all mixed up. We don't seem to know what we're doing or where we're going. The bottom line about it is, at the top, within the worker element of capitalist society, at the top should be people who are involved in a productive capacity where the end produce of what they produce is sold externally out of the country, and the money that they earn is brought back into the country. That is what is called the generation of wealth within the capitalist system. There is no other generation of economic wealth. There's social wealth done by people within the non-productive sector. I know all about that, but I'm talking about productive economic wealth. There's only one way to do it. People either go into factories and go into workplaces and they put their labour through raw materials which come in one end, which is bought by the capital of the capitalist system. They process that through the labour which they provide, and out the other end comes a finished product which is sold onto the international market. Now, a variant of that, a modern variant of that, is the service aspect of society, where the raw material is an idea or a non-physical thing, and it's altered through work, let's say through telephone services or whatever, but it still has a capital element and it still has a labour element, and it's still sold externally and generates wealth externally. We need to have money externally through a productive capacity coming back into the country to make it work. I'm not trying to decry people who are teachers and who are public servants, but they cannot earn. There has to be an order to the thing. They can earn the same as the people who are in the productive element. They can't earn more than. It turns capitalism and it turns the whole economic theory of things up on its head, and it's a recipe for disaster. You can't have somebody who doesn't produce any wealth. They might say, "Oh well, I produce social wealth," but that's only tautology. It's arguing in circles. Why? The bottom line is we live in a capitalist society. As I say, I don't advocate capitalism, but that's the society we live in. We live in this capitalist society, and it demands that we're able to sell produce abroad to generate wealth, because that's only the only way that a society can generate wealth. That's be able to sell things. That's what capitalism is at its heart. It's based on selling these things outside your own country and producing wealth and bringing that wealth back home again. We seem to have lost that. We don't seem to be able to do that. We've now ended up with a debt mountain. We're the most indebted nation in the world because we've lost the whole capitalist concept. The whole capitalist concept has just been thrown out with, and because this cheap money was there, we brought all this cheap money into Ireland and tried to mimic the Americans, the ultimate consumers, and started to consume all this stuff. It doesn't produce any wealth. That's why we are the way we are today. The whole thing's all based on nothing, all based on irrational and just nonsense. And when the bubble burst, the money was all gone. We just gambled it all away on property. Just a Ponzi scheme. Anyway, if I've offended anybody, I don't mean to. I just get really upset by the muppets that run this country.